So welcome to the daily discussion. The first topic is the Supreme Court will hear the challenge on designation of bill as money bill. So we have ordinary bill, money bill, two types of bill in the parliament. So what can be considered as a money bill? A request for priority to referral regarding the way the center got important amendments passed in the parliament as money bill addressed by a 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India, presided over by the Chief Justice of India. But which amendment were passed into law as money bill? Amendment to the Prevention of Money Laundering Act (PMLA). The Prevention of Money Laundering Act was amended in 2015, giving the Enforcement Directorate (ED) new and broad power, including the ability to carry out raids and make arrests. This was the amendment because ED was given the power to conduct raid and arrest person, which was by the amendment of a bill, and that was introduced as a money bill in the parliament. Fine. The main issue is that these divisions were passed as okay. So the main issue is that these divisions were passed by money bill, which raises concern about their validity and legality. Legal scholars and petitioners disagree about whether these major changes ought to have been approved by both chambers of parliament as part of the regular legislative process than being passed as a money bill. The Finance Act 2017, it raises questions regarding the appropriate use of this parliamentary method because it was enacted and classified as a money bill. Charges that classifying the 2017 Act, PMLA Act, as a money bill was a calculated attempt to increase executive control over these tribunals. Fine, because the executive will have more control over the tribunals by the provisions in the bill, so it was introduced as a money bill in the parliament. Allegation that the act sought to change appointment to 19 important judicial tribunals, including the Central Administrative Tribunal and the National Green Tribunal. The act was passed with modification that significantly reduced the education and work history needed to staff these important judicial bodies, and the doubt is that government may appoint their hand-picked persons to these bodies in case they pass as ordinary legislation. Supposition may raise doubt on this. That is why the government calculatedly introduced these bills as money bill, where the Rajya Sabha will be very less control, and government having majority in the Lok Sabha will be able to easily pass these in the lower house and in the upper house. So because of the provision of the money bill, the opposition will have very less role to play there. The Aadhaar Act 2016 in 2018, the Supreme Court upheld the government's position, declaring the Aadhaar Act to be a lawful money bill in accordance with Article 110 of the Constitution. Article 110 of Indian Constitution provides the features of a money bill. There are legal and procedural issues raised when the government claimed that the bill was legitimately classified as money bill because the subsidies that are distributed through Aadhaar originate from the Consolidated Fund of India. Because the subsidy that is given through the Aadhaar will be allocated from the Consolidated Fund of India. So any expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India is treated as a money bill. So the Aadhaar bill 2016 was passed as a money bill in the Parliament. Money bill restrict the power of Rajya Sabha and are only available to the Lok Sabha. The Chief Justice of India recently requested a more thorough review. What implications could the bigger bench have? Elucidation about the constitutionality of the Aadhaar Act, the PMLA Act and the tribunal changes. Aadhaar Act, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act and the tribunal changes. Determining if these laws were intended to evade Rajya Sabha scrutiny or were properly classified as money bill. Determination of whether these designations were tactical moves to evade oversight or legally sound to be reviewed by the judiciary. The deliberation among the broader bench may provide further perspectives on the extent of examination that the judiciary can perform with respect to the Speaker's decision on measures that are designated as money bill. What is a money bill? Money bill is a type of financial legislation that only includes measures pertaining to government borrowing, spending, taxes and revenue. Constitutional basis: pursuant to Article 1101, a bill shall be considered a money bill if it solely addresses the subjects mentioned in Article 110(1) A to G, among other things, taxation, government borrowing and allocation of funds from the Consolidated Fund of India. A money bill may also be any matter incidental or any of the matters specified in Article 110(1)(a)(f) according to Article 110(1)(g). Article 110(3) of the Constitution states that the Speaker of the House of the People's decision is final in the event that a question arises over whether a bill is a money bill or not. The Speaker's decision will be final on this. The procedure: money bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. They cannot be introduced in the upper house, the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha lacks the authority to reject or change a money bill. It can only offer recommendation on them. The President may accept or reject a financial measure, but it may not be written for review. A joint sitting option is not offered. Conclusion: money bill is the most significant part of union budget and it deals with money matters. It is essential for the financial bill and gives data on tax collection and government spending. So a priority request is made challenging the designation of a bill as money bill in the Supreme Court, which has to be heard by a 7-member judge bench. Next, environment and ecology and biodiversity. The inclusion of an excessive number of species in the revised schedules of the Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2022 without a measurable or repeatable method has enraged many ecologists. Recently, the government has amended the Wildlife Act. Okay, so a significant modification was made to India's 50-year-old wildlife conservation law in 2022 by the Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2022, which amended the 1972 Act, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Among the changes were the number and objectives of schedules. The previous 6 schedules under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 were rationalized to 4 schedules under the new legislation. With the new law, there are roughly 600 vertebrate species and hundreds of invertebrate species in Schedule 1, which offer the maximum protection, and about 2000 species in Schedule 2, of which 1131 are birds. Conservation related issues. The first problem with this designation has to do with conservation in general. The original goal of the Wildlife Protection Act were to control commerce, police and trafficking of species, and govern the use of different species including hunting. This is how the original act was drafted, with the hunting section providing an exception for study by linking itself with sites and incorporating its appendices. The new act goes one step further. There is no explicit mention of a link between conservation and endanger in the act. The following are the immediate impact of listing a species. One could need to prioritize species even if there were benefits from conservation. There are hundreds of species of mammals, more than 1,000 species of birds, and countless more taxa included. Thus, it is not clear how resources should be distributed based just on this list. The king cobra and the rat snake, the great Indian bosted, and the common brown owl, the tiger and jackals all receive the same degree of protection. Second, all actions have repercussions, generally negative one, in the legal system. For instance, cutting down native tea is prohibited by the Kerala and Karnataka Tea Preservation Act. These acts discourage plantation owners from growing native tree and instead encourage exotic like the silver oak, which they can chop whenever necessary, rather than encouraging conservation. One particularly ridiculous outcome of listing in the case of the Wildlife Protection Act has been the inclusion of the spotted deer, chital in Schedule 1. These are widespread in India, but they are invasive in the Andaman Island, where they have severely damaged the flora and wildlife. But because of the Wildlife Protection Act, they cannot be lawfully eliminated or removed. Impact on people. Various Schedule 1 species pose enormous physical, mental, and economic harm to people. Elephants everywhere, leopards in some area, and crocodile in the Andaman all murder people, ruin their livelihood, and cause long-lasting psychological effect. Nonetheless, eminent conservationists giverly advise the populace to learn coexistence. This point of view is enforced by the Wildlife Protection Act, since wild pigs and the nilgai were now classified as Schedule 1 under the new law. Few states that still permit the restricted killing of problematic animals may not be able to maintain that policy. This demonstrates complete disregard for the predicament of farmers and small-scale producers. Additionally, even in case where hunting and animal use have been customarily for hundreds of years, the Wildlife Protection Act maintains a restricted stance on these topics. Use restrictions were put in the place because the population of these species has decreased, but by the same reasoning, controlled use should to be taken into account when animal populations are abundant, if only to maintain the standard of living for nearby community. However, this is viewed as disgusting by many conservationists and inappropriate by the bureaucracy with little regard for society or science. The wildlife research issues. Another problem is that the documentation required to obtain research permission is time consuming and laborious. Even with the backing of numerous forest bureaucrats, research may suffer greatly as a result of the listing of so many species in the protected list. Environmental non-profit will find it more difficult to obtain license for conservation and research. Even with regard to common species like the brown owl, it remains unclear if citizen science will be allowed to continue. Regretfully, despite complaining about how the Wildlife Protection Act has affected their job, many ecologists have frequently shown insensitivity to the most significant problem at hand. Even while Western scientists have come under fire for performing parachute research in the global south, many Indian ecologists have engaged in similar behavior, gathering biological material and knowledge while leaving no benefit to the society. We frequently supported policies that harm the very community we took advantage of. The act that interferes with our job is a far greater threat to the lives of those it affects. In reality, attention must be paid to all three of these topics: research, people's issue, and conservation. Three issues are to be taken care of, and one is research, and people's issue and common people's interest is affected, and their conservation of the wildlife. Those who live are at stake need to be safeguarded first. Ecosystem speciology and context-specific management strategy are required for both species and habitats. Often, this calls for research or at least regular monitoring by independent agencies, which is hampered by the schedule of species available there. Because Schedule 1, Schedule 2, as it included more species, they are coming under protection. So it will affect the common people because they will put the harm like elephant, like crocodile, like so, but they cannot take any remedial measures. So the government cannot declare them as virgin and kill them. Okay. Lastly, as long as the Wildlife Protection Act respect the fundamentals of ethical animal care and do not unnecessarily harm population, both ecologists. Okay. Ecosystem specificity and context-specific management strategy are required for both species and habitats. Often this call for research or at least regular monitoring by independent agencies, which is hampered by the scheduling of species. Lastly, as long as the Wildlife Protection Act respect the fundamentals of ethical animal care and do not unnecessarily harm population, both ecologists and citizens have the right to study the natural world and gather data on them. MQ-9B drones, United States has agreed to sell India 31 MQ-9B unmanned aerial vehicles or drones. The agreement is expected to be finalized by February 2024, with delivery beginning on February 2027, a 3-year gap after the contract is signed. Deal status and timeline. The MQ-9B UAV contract is that proceeding as planned. US government's letter of offer and acceptance is pending. The contract is expected to be completed by February 2024. UAV makers commitment. General Atomic, the UAV maker, UAV manufacturer is in the process of establishing global maintenance, repair and overall facility in India. The specific site of the facility is unknown, but Bengaluru is a potential candidate for this. Clearance and cost. In June, India's Defence Ministry authorized the purchase of 31 MQ-9B UAV from that global General Atomics for a total cost of $3072 million. The purchase includes 51 Sea Guardians for the Navy as well as 80 Sky Guardians for both the Army and the Air Force. 8/8/15, total 31. Procurement process. The letter of request was sent to the US Department immediately before Prime Minister Narendra Modi's G20 meeting with the US President Joe Biden. The letter of request serves as the foundation for the letter of offer and acceptance to specify equipment and procurement terms in accordance with the US Foreign Military Shell Program. Then approval and conclusion. So the cell must be reported to the US administration and the US Congress. Fine. Before the contract can be signed, the Indian government's Cabinet Committee on Security must approve it. Okay. Then next topic is of the zoonotic diseases. 75% of emerging infectious diseases are zoonotic diseases. The Union Health Secretary emphasized this at the National Conclave. Okay, so the Union Health Secretary emphasized this at the National Conclave on Augmented Zoonotic Disease Surveillance at the Human Wildlife Interface. These are diseases that are naturally transmitted from vertebrates animal to humans or vice versa. Zoonotic pathogens can be bacteria, virus, parasites, or other unusual organisms. Okay, so it can infect human by direct contact, food, water, or the environment. In India, they constitute a huge public health concern: rabies, brucellosis, plague, and so on. In India, 13 zoonoses cause 2.2 million deaths per year. Reason for emerging zoonotics: antibiotic use in animals, reduced forest cover enhances population contact with disease transmission. There is a lack of information and skill in identifying zoonotic diseases as well as diagnostic facilities. Other factors include poor cleanliness, environmental contamination, harm animal husbandry malpractices, and so on. Recommendations: in One Health approach. Okay, so a One Health approach is required, which is an integrated, unifying approach to balancing the optimizing the health of people, animal, and the environment. That's the One Health right now. Creating a health adoption plan for climate sensitive zoonotic illness, assessing vulnerability, and so on. Then the Mount Vesuvius, researchers utilized an AI program to decipher from an old manuscript that has been charged by Mount Vesuvius explosion. What about this Vesuvius mountain? It is one of the active volcano on Europe's mainland, location Naples in Italy. It is a composite stratovolcano made up of pyroclastic flow, lava flow, debris from lahars. Then the stratovolcanoes can step side and are more cone shaped. In the last 17 years, the mountain has undergone 8 large eruptions. The most recent was in 1944. Its most famous eruption occurred in AD. Pompeii and Herculean was destroyed in 79. Then the next topic is about watershed development. The Department of Land Resources has signed a MOU with the National Remote Sensing Center for Watershed Development. The objective is high resolution satellite data will be used to monitor the watershed development component of the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana 2.0. PMSKKSY is a centrally sponsored scheme to enhance physical access to increase irrigation, improve water use efficiency, etc. The watershed development component of PMSKY is implemented by the DORL, Department of Land Resources. A watershed is a geohydrological unit drained by a network of drains to a single point. The watershed development refers to the conservation, regeneration, and wide use of all natural resources within the watershed, including land, water, plants, and wildlife, as well as human development. Significance of that watershed development: reduce disparities between irrigated and rain-fed areas, water supply that is consistent for home, agriculture, and industrial needs, reducing the waste of excessive river water flow, particularly during the monsoon season. Challenges: irrigation projects place little emphasis on watershed planning and design. Local stakeholder participation in planning and execution is decreasing. Traditional watershed development strategies are given low attention. Inadequate gathering of hydrological data. So, fine. Then the way forward, collaboration with the ministries such as that multinational development banks, the World Bank on the global scale, MDB multilateral development banks, using a decentralized and participatory development strategy, initiation and implementation of site-specific watershed development action such as soil, water, and biomass conservation. For watershed development, training and community mobilization are required. Next is the high cost of cheap water, worldwide fund for nature, report on World Food Day. Water blindness is a lack of awareness and comprehension of the value of water resources according to the paper. In 2021, the estimated global economic value of water was around $85 trillion, equivalent to 60% of the world's GDP. Direct economic benefits such as household water, water use and irrigation total 7.5 trillion per year. Indirect economic benefits such as water purification and soil health total 50 trillion each year. Key threat to freshwater ecosystem: water overuse, notably by agriculture, which accounts for 70% of the worldwide freshwater consumption. The hydrological cycle is being disrupted by climate change, which limits water availability. Water contamination caused by human activities such as fertilizer use and microplastics. Infrastructure such as dams and river diversions alter and fragment the flow. Worldwide Fund for Nature, Genesis, established in 1961, about international non-governmental organization working in the field of wildlife preservation. Function: it works around 6 areas: food, climate, freshwater, wildlife, forest, and ocean. Report Living Planet Index prepared by the World Wildlife Fund. Recommendation: government should restore and protect vital freshwater ecosystem, revitalize 30% of the degraded rivers and wetland by 2030, end harmful subsidies in agriculture and energy. Industry and business should evaluate and reveal water risk for scarcity, pollution, and floods. Implement water saving technology and advanced treatment to minimize watershed generation. Financial institutions should invest in nature-based solution for climate adaptation. Okay. Then the topic is, the question is, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare concluded all 3 rounds of intensified mission Indradhanush 5.0 campaign. All states and union territory except Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and Punjab concluded in all rounds. About the mission Indradhanush, okay, Intensified Mission Indradhanush 5.0 campaign aims to improve immunization coverage for all vaccines offered through the Universal Immunization Program in accordance with the National Immunization Schedule. It guarantees that routine immunization services are delivered to at-risk children and pregnant women across the country. It is being carried out across the country and involves youngsters up to the age of 5 years. Previous campaign included children up to the age of 2. A special emphasis is being placed on increasing vaccination coverage against measles and rubella in order to eradicate them by 2023. In a pilot phase, it uses the UWIN digital platform for routine immunization. Mission Indradhanush was launched in 2014 as a special catch-up campaign under the Universal Immunization Program to cover the particularly and unvaccinated children. A total of 5.06 crore children and 1.25 crore pregnant women have been cumulatively vaccinated till date. UIP provides Universal Immunization Program provides free vaccines against 12 life-threatening diseases like the tuberculosis, diphtheria, tetanus, hepatitis B, measles, rubella, Japanese encephalitis, only in endemic district, etc. And to this, the rotavirus has been added recently. Then coming to the question, interstate water dispute are a continuing challenge to federal water governance in India. In this slide, discuss the reason behind the prolonged existence of many interstate water disputes in the country. What steps should be done in order to successfully settle these conflicts? Okay, so the majority of the 25 major rivers basin in India cross multiple states. 25 major river basins cross multiple states in India. State to state river water disputes have occurred over a number of interstate rivers including Satluj Jamuna link canal, the Krishna water dispute, the Kaveri conflict, etc., the Mahanadi conflict recently. Since river in India transcend state boundary, that means they crisscross state boundary, creating equitable and effective mechanism for distributing river flow has long been a crucial legal and constitutional concern since the beginning. In the pre-independence period, this issue was also there. The following of the regions interstate water disputes have persisted for so long. Uncertainty regarding federal jurisdiction. Schedule 7 grants the Union Parliament the authority to create policy and procedures for managing interstate rivers regarding the use of water for things like water supply, irrigation, canal, drainage, embankment, water storage and water power. The states still maintain their autonomy. The federal jurisdictional uncertainty has been created by this approach to the formation of the legislative and constitutional system surrounding the interstate river water disputes, which has left the federal government and the state with an inaccurate distribution of power. Because the state and the centers are not clearly demarcated, Okay, so Schedule 7 grant the Union Parliament the authority to create policy and procedures for maintaining interstate rivers regarding the use of water for things like water supply, irrigation, canal drainage, embankment, water storage, and water power. The states still maintain their autonomy. Federal jurisdictional uncertainty has been created by this approach. The formation of the legislative and the constitutional system surrounding interstate water dispute, which has left the federal government and the state with an inaccurate distribution of power. Geographical and historical ambiguities. The political and cultural determinants of the state borders have continued to shape Indian state boundaries with little consideration for the natural and historical dynamics of these areas. The shifting borders create historical geographical ambiguity in the control of interstate river water resources, making it more difficult to implement current jurisdictional and resource sharing agreements. Eventually, these changes also serve as sources of political competition between states. The political factors. Water allocation is no longer the only issue at stake in India's interstate water dispute because of regional ambitions and electoral concern. They have become extremely politicized. For example, the Kaveri dispute is frequently presented as a matter of ethnic identity involving the Tamilians and the Kannadigas. Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Growing water scarcity. Water stress is caused by the uneven distribution of water throughout the nation and by variation in monsoon rainfall pattern. The problem has been made worse in recent years by growing water scarcity and a sharp increase in the demand for fresh water from both urban and rural areas. Opacity in the institutional framework. The interstate water dispute settlement process has too many options and too much discretion at different points in time. This is particularly due to complicated procedural issues involving numerous parties including court, state and federal government, water tribunals and others. Delays in dispute resolution. The nation's water conflict are delayed because of the drawn out legal proceedings. For example, the water disputes around the Kaveri and Godavari river have been postponed. Okay, so the nation's water conflict had delayed because of drawn out legal proceedings. For example, the water dispute around the Kaveri and Godavari river have been postponed for over a long time. So, Kaveri between Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Godavari between Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. Measures that can be taken by effectively resolve interstate water river disputes include institutional structure for mediation. To facilitate interstate mediation, an institutional framework must be established. In this situation, placing conflict over river water under the interstate council's purview may aid in settling the conflict between the states. For the purpose of developing, managing and regulating interstate river, the National Commission to Review the Working of the Constitution suggested a complete central legislative framework. A robust and durable institutional framework is required for interstate cooperation, coordination and compliance. In order to effectively manage interstate river, the Sarkaria Commission has advocated the creation of a national data bank and information system. The current institutions and procedures for settling disputes over interstate river are insufficiently clear or specific. The increasing utilization of water resources raises the potential for conflictual situation. Therefore, it is imperative that the processes for resolving disputes be clarified. educating the people about the harm that protracted conflict causes due to economic, environment and developmental issues. The state in the basin should think about lowering their water demand by putting in place water efficient agricultural patterns and techniques such as drip irrigation, given the nation's growing water crisis. As a conclusion, as river basins have shared resources, a coordinated approach within the state with adequate involvement of the center is necessary for the preservation, equitable distribution, and sustainable utilization of the river water. Finding a long-term mutually agreeable solution for the regulation of interstate river water should prioritize bolstering the institutional processes that are already in place and those that are developing, while also taking political sensitivities into consideration that can find a long-term solution to these issues. Then come to the MCQs. Consider the following statement about the cloud brightening. Cloud brightening is a phenomenon that occurs when aerosols are injected into clouds by natural events such as volcanic eruption. Marine cloud brightening is a solar geoengineering technique that involves spraying sea salt into low-lying clouds to increase the reflectance of the cloud cover. Here, both 1 and 2 are correct. So, consider the following statement of the Gulf of Guiana. Okay. So it is found at the junction of the prime meridian and the equator, 0 degree north and 0 degree east, right? The Orange and Niger rivers drain into the Gulf of Guiana. That is wrong. Incorrect is 2. With reference to the Morni bill, consider the following statement. Morni bill must be introduced in the Lok Sabha and cannot be introduced in the Rajya Sabha. That is right. The President can either accept or reject a Morni bill but cannot return it for reconsideration. So that is wrong. The provision of joint sitting is included under the procedure to the Morni bill. Wrong. Only 1 is correct, but 2 and 3 are correct. So A is correct. And the following statement with respect to the quantum states. Quantum states is a mathematical description of the physical property of a quantum system. Quantum states provides a complete specification of a system's properties, including its position, momentum, energy, speed, and other observable quantities. Bosons are particles that obey the Pauli extension principle with permanence. So only 1 and 2 are correct. So 2, 3 is incorrect. But the following statement with respect to the Tribal Youth Exchange Program. The program aims to promote the aspirations of the youth in all tribal districts across India. That is incorrect. The program is implemented by the Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan. That is also incorrect. The answer will be neither 1 nor 2. With reference to the habitat rights, consider the following statement. It safeguards and promotes traditional livelihood and ecological knowledge passed down through generations. That is right. They are not given to particularly vulnerable tribal groups. The Baiga community does not have these rights. So they are not given. So they are given. So 2 and 3 are incorrect. Only 1 is correct. Okay. The world's largest Hindu temple, Akshardham, constructed outside India in the modern era, was recently inaugurated. They constructed in accordance with old Hindu scriptures and incorporates elements of ancient culture such as 10,000 figurines and statues, carving of Indian musical instruments and dancing styles. The temple is possibly the second largest after Angkor Wat in Cambodia. So this temple of the Akshardham is located at New Jersey in USA. With reference to the Global Hunger Index 2023, consider the following statement. It is a tool designed to comprehensively measure and track hunger at multiple levels. That right. India also had the lowest child wasting rate in the. It is wrong. The prevalence of anemia in women aged 18 to 24 stood at 51.8. Right. India ranked last in Asia in the Global Hunger Index. That is, it's only 2 are correct. And the following statement, it is a crystalline metal with a layer of oxide on its surface which makes resistance to corrosion. Alloys containing this metal are used in jet engine. It is used in magnet for particular accelerators and MRI scanners due to superconducting properties, and it is obtained from the mineral columbine. It is called the nobium. The following statement regarding the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. Wildlife Crime Control Bureau is a statutory body under the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change that is specially meant to combat organized wildlife crime in the country. Okay. Okay. It assisted and advised the custom authority in the inspection of the consignment of flora and fauna, right? Rather than Prime Minister, no. So only one and two are correct. So two are correct here, not all. Answer will be B. Thank you for watching. Keep watching regularly to update yourself.